Fishing trips usually result in ordinary catches, but sometimes the unexpected happen. Strange creatures, bizarre events, and unbelievable moments have left even experienced fishermen stunned. From glowing sea monsters to fish with unusual features, here are 20 fishing anomalies that no one believed could actually exist. Number 20. Fish throwing up its stomach. Well, great. Here's a video of a fish suffering a hideous ending. The fish is throwing up its stomach. This is something that happens when a fish is caught on a line and reeled in up to the surface. When they're in deep waters, a fish's insides, its swim bladder to be precise, contains gases, and these are at a steady pressure. But guess what? When you drag a fish all the way up through the different levels of pressure to the surface, all of a sudden, well, that will cause that pressure to change in the gases and expand rapidly. The result of all of that expansion of gas inside the fish is a variety of horrible symptoms, including bulging eyes and clouded, crystallized eyes, as well as the stomach protruding out of the mouth. This is called barotrauma, and it's seen in many fish that are caught below 50 feet and then dragged to the surface, causing sudden changes in pressure in the swim bladder gases. It is absolutely hideous, but even though it looks like it's dead, the fish probably isn't dead yet. It's just struggling for sure, but the death is not a quick thing for a fish out of water. This is a horrible video, isn't it? Number 19. Mysterious creature in Thailand. Well, what the heck do we actually have here? This is certainly one for the old nightmare banks, now isn't it? This is allegedly a mysterious creature that some repugnant little troll on YouTube decided to film for all of us to marvel at. Except, what in the world is the thing, and why, oh why, did we all get selected to look directly at it? That's my main gripe here. I mean, evidently they're being vague and mysterious saying creature, but the monstrous mess that they appear to have put together is clearly supposed to be some kind of mermaid or some such other nonsense. It has a fish body and a weird, bulbous head, and those two things alone would not be quite so discombobulating. I mean, then it could just be a weird fish or something. But no, this particularly mysterious creature has arms. That's right, arms. But not any regular old arms. These things look more like creepy frog arms or alien appendages. You know, some other kind of heinous bad dream depiction of a monster creature that's going to haunt the shiz out of you forevermore. So, shall we move swiftly on? Please, can we just stop looking at this thing now? Number 18. Half fish. Well, this one's rather hideous, but then again, here we are. This is a fisherman named Franklin Seber, who likes to film himself out reeling in the fishes. He spends an inordinate amount of time taking pictures with his mouth wide open in mock amazement at the size of the fish that he's just caught, or, somewhat more creepily, in mid-smooch with said catch. You know, this Franklin guy has some weird dead fish fetish or something. But anyhow, the video shows him out and about in the glorious sunshine, living his best life and catching all the fish, when he reels one in only to discover that some other predator has been there first and eaten up half of the big fish already. He still gives it a kiss for the camera, though. Wow. Shall we move swiftly on, then? Number 17. Two-mouthed fish. Now, it's never a brilliant public relations thing for a place when a mutant fish is pulled out of a nearby body of water, especially one that has extra parts. This is usually where people will start looking for the nuclear testing facility or toxic waste dumping ground. And there are plenty of those places all across America. Whether or not that is the reason that the fish has developed in an unusual way, well, that simply remains to be seen. This is the story of a woman who was fishing on Lake Champlain on the New York-Vermont border when she caught a creature that caught her by surprise. The fish, which seems to be a lake trout, has two mouths, one on top of the other, kind of like it has two heads but also not. The fishing team, who were intrigued by what a member had caught, naturally did what all humans do in these sorts of situations. They posted a picture of the weird creature on Facebook. And, like people do, all kinds of stories emerged about other two-headed and double-mouthed mystery fish that had been encountered by people over the years. But then again, everyone has a big fish story of some sort now, don't they? What would be impressive is if they had reeled in the Lake Champlain monster, because that would be something to see. Number 16. Poisonous scorpion fish. Here we are, scrambling out on the rocks with a fisherman in Thailand who's trying to catch some very weird stuff. One of the things that he's managed to catch is a poisonous scorpion fish. These are not the friendliest of fish, and you would want to be pretty careful when messing about with this kind of species. Scorpion fish are amongst the most venomous species of fish in the world. They have stingers that are composed of sharp spines that are coated with a kind of venomous mucus. These fish are mainly found in the Pacific and Indian Oceans, but there are some species, like lionfish, that are also found in the Caribbean and the Mediterranean seas. The lionfish is actually native to the Indo-Pacific region, but lately, this ornate ocean dweller has been popping up all over the place, and that's a bit of a problem. Now considered an invasive species in the coastal waters off the U.S. Southeast and the Caribbean, these fish are doing more harm than they are good to the delicate ecosystems in these areas. The lionfish is a predatory species, and since settling into new waters, it's been systematically scoffing all kinds of creatures that it has no business interfering with. It's known to be doing untold damage to the balance of saline on the reefs. They eat up too many parrotfish, which means with no parrotfish to eat it, there is just too much seaweed. They also compete with native fish like live grouper and snapper, leaving less available to sustain those species. Now it's time for today's topic. Off the coast of Hokkaido, Japan, a group of fishermen made a shocking discovery while hauling in their fishing nets. What they initially thought was a routine catch turned out to be a massive great white shark, tangled in their nets. The shark, estimated to be over 20 feet long and weighing several tons, was one of the largest ever caught in the region. However, the real mystery began when the fishermen decided to examine the shark more closely. As they inspected the shark's stomach contents, they were horrified to find torn pieces of clothing, including what appeared to be a shirt and fragments of fabric resembling pants. The discovery immediately raised questions. Had the shark consumed a human, or was it simply debris from the ocean? The fishermen, shaken by the find, reported the incident to local authorities, who have since launched an investigation. Marine biologists are analyzing the remains to determine whether they belong to a missing person or are just discarded clothing swept into the ocean. While sharks are known to scavenge, the possibility of a human encounter has left the fishing community on edge. For now, the mystery remains unsolved, leaving many to wonder what truly happened in the depths of the sea. Number 15. The giant needlefish. In the Maldives, here's a video of a guy catching a needlefish in the Maldives. He's extremely happy, apparently, as this is a very large example and also his personal best. Well, good for that guy. Less good for the fish, of course, though. Needlefish mostly live in shallow seas or on the surface of the open sea. There are some that even live in freshwater environments like rivers and streams. They resemble American gars as they have a long snout and sharp teeth, but they're only actually very distantly related to these, despite their similar characteristics. They can also be extremely dangerous to people. There are many stories about needlefish leaping out of the water and piercing people, sometimes fatally. This fish is serious business indeed. Number 14. Cornet fish. Next up, we have a guy fishing off a pier in Florida. He's caught a cornet fish. These unusual fish are some of the most elongated types, and although they look like eels, they are different from them because cornet fish have a long snout and distinct fins. These fish are found in the temperate and tropical waters around the world, from the Atlantic to the Pacific and Indian Oceans. The fish love to live in coastal waters, especially around sand flats and coral reefs, where they can then find a whole lot of small fish and crustaceans to eat. It's nothing but it's just a really unique fish. The guy in this video tells us that this one is out of its normal habitat, probably because the coral reef had been suffering from bleaching and was dying in many places. He also says that they're actually related to seahorses and they share a similar shape of mouth. He then plops the cornet fish right back into the sea. Number 13. Napoleon fish. Here's a video of a guy catching a big old Napoleon fish in Papua New Guinea. The humphead wrasse is also known as the Napoleon fish. These fish are definitely amongst the more weird-looking of sea-dwelling creatures, but beneath that kooky appearance, the fish have an awesome ability as well. They live in groups of females with one dominant male, so if another male turns up, there's always a fight which will result in the most dominant one taking over the group. And if the male is getting a bit old or needs an upgrade, these fish have a nifty way to sort that out as well. When they reach a certain age and size, the Napoleon fish can actually change its sex. These guys can change from female to male, so they're able to take themselves off for a few months and hang out in a secret lair, during which time the female humphead wrasse can transform herself from a smaller fish with ovaries to a massive, hulking male fish with big balls to prove it. Then, that new male will likely go and have a punch-up with the older one and then take over their role. These fish's special skills are not actually unique in the fish world, but they are an interesting example of the sex-changing abilities. Other fish often change the other way, from male to female, but there are some species who are fully hermaphroditic and able to reproduce entirely through self-fertilization for their entire lives. A clever and useful adaptation in the dangerous depths of the sea. Number 12. Sucker mouth catfish. Next up, we have a video of a dopey guy who was apparently catching a fish while out fishing in Texas, and he took a video and returned it to the water, and that's where he went wrong. This is an invasive species known as the suckermouth armored catfish, and it is basically now a plague in Texas. These fish have been found in their hundreds in Texas rivers, and they're causing so much damage that they're now being pulled from the state's waterways in a desperate effort to limit the destruction of the natural ecology of the region. These suckermouth catfish come from South America and were often kept as aquarium fish, which is how the invasive species came to populate the waters of Texas. Someone released their aquarium fish into the river, and then the rest is history. The fish is thriving, but this is coming at a devastating cost for many native species. They're known to eat algae, which is why they're chosen for aquariums, but they're also causing distress to manatees in Florida, where they are also invasive, by swarming them in large numbers to eat the algae that grows upon the sea cows. In Texas, these creatures are threatening the environment, but they're also equipped with lungs that allow them to breathe out of water for quite some time, and they can even move on land, which means that they aren't as confined to the waterways in which they have been found. And it also means that they can travel. Number 11. Fish with bulging eyeballs. As we have recently been learning, the pressure changes that a fish experiences as it's pulled from the deep sea to the surface can have all kinds of horrible effects. Any so-called fisherman would probably be aware of that phenomenon, but apparently, this is a video of a Russian fisherman who has caught a peculiar deep-sea fish with bulging eyeballs. But any real fisherman of deep-sea fish would know that barotrauma is a thing that happens to fish that usually live in deeper waters and are reeled in or otherwise dragged to the surface quickly. Basically, like when deep-sea divers get the bends, the change in pressure in the gases and the swim bladder will sometimes cause a fish to have all kinds of stuff like expanded intestines, stomach sticking out of their mouths, and bulging eyeballs. So, this is not a mystery fish, nor an alien, nor even a mutant, and not a new species. It's just a poor, unfortunate fish that is suffering with the regular effects of the changes in pressure. Mystery solved, and perhaps the fisherman just needs to pay more attention. But who could possibly say? Number 10. Cat-faced fish. Well, here's a koi fish that seems to have the imprint of a cat face on its head. This is not entirely unusual. These sorts of markings have been spotted on fish everywhere, but this is the internet, so we're all amazed by such a crazy thing. Apparently, koi fish are a fairly familiar sight in ornamental ponds all over the world. These fish are prized for their bright color and patterning, as well as the extraordinary sizes that they can grow to. Koi carp can grow as long as 3 feet if they have enough space and a good diet. Speaking of diets, what do these monster-sized fishes actually eat? Well, we've seen a video of a massive koi gobbling down an entire eel. Wow, that's so weird, as though it was just chucking back popcorn. These big fish generally find their food at the bottom of the pond or the lake, and they will usually eat other fish eggs, insects, and algae. They use their twin barbels, those are the things that look like twiddly little mustaches, to detect food, and these sensory organs are built like a cat's whiskers but with taste buds attached so they can find food in the murky depths. Koi have been swimming around ponds since back in the 4th century in China when they were first domesticated. And incredibly, the fish can often reach at least 50 years old if they're kept in optimum conditions. They can regularly outlive their owners, and the oldest koi on record was 226 years old. But how exactly anyone could keep track of that? Well, that's a bit of a mystery since it's more than twice the age of even really old people. Number 9. Alligator gar. An alligator gar is a kind of freshwater fish that's native to North America. They have a long and narrow torpedo of a body with a short, wide snout and rows of nasty, vicious teeth. These fish are fearsome ambush predators that stalk the waters of lakes in hunt of fish, waterfowl, and other small mammals. They usually measure around 5 or 6 feet long, so they're kind of large but generally nothing to write home about. Or that's what people think most of the time anyway, because these things can actually get pretty huge. Back in 1951, a really massive alligator gar was caught in Texas. That specimen weighed a mighty 279 pounds and set all kinds of records. But this record was completely blown out of the water by a catch in 2019 in Mississippi. This one measured an incredible 8 feet long, weighing it at a record-crushing 327 pounds. It's believed that this old lady of the lake was probably between 50 and 70 years old when she was caught because, usually, these kinds of fish would be subject to a catch-and-return system. But the fisherman responsible said this big fish was caught in the net and didn't survive the encounter. This might be the biggest fish I've ever caught. Seems like more than a pity that this elderly creature was plucked in such an untimely and thoughtless way from the water, and it begs the question, how many more years may she have lived had she been left well alone? Number 8. Large catfish. Back in 2015, this fisherman, who goes by the name of Dino Ferrari, apparently managed to catch an astonishingly large catfish in the Po River in Italy. Well, good for him. The fish was flipping enormous, and it seemed that it measured a ludicrous 8 feet and 9 inches in length and weighed 280 pounds. That is massive, and it took a full 40 minutes to reel the whopper in. I mean, that's hardly surprising. The thing's basically a whale at that point. And Dino and his brother snapped a whole lot of pictures with the fish while it slowly started to suffocate, and then they returned it to the river. People who first saw the picture couldn't actually believe that it was real, so Dino released a video in which he demonstrated the authenticity of the fish and its seemingly impossible size. The thing is, though, is this the only one that has grown to this size, or could there actually be others? A terrifying thought, and frankly, the idea that this is what fish are like now is going to be haunting my nightmares. But what do you think? Could this be the evolution of catfish? Are these insanely big fish going to take over the world and eat everything in their path? Go on and give me all your fabulous opinions in the comment section down below. I know you want to. Number 7. Three-headed frog. All the way back in 2004, a bunch of nursery school kids had a surprise that probably adjusted some of their perceptions of how stuff works, at least for a little while anyway. This is a super strange three-headed, six-legged frog that was found in the pond of the Green Umbrella Nursery School in Western-super-Mare in the United Kingdom. The children had been playing outside when they found the mutant frog, and they put it into a bucket to show their teachers. Although it had initially appeared to be a bunch of frogs forming a pyramid, a closer inspection would show them that this was actually 3 frogs or conjoined froggy triplets. They took a few pictures before the frog managed to escape, so nobody was really able to make a real-life verification of the creature. But a so-called expert weighed in and said that it was indeed very unusual and that it was most likely the sign of pollution or perhaps climate change or, another kind of portent of doom. These things always are, aren't they? I mean, frogs rain from the sky, mutant amphibians appear in Somerset, and it basically means that the end of the world is definitely nigh because, of course, it does. Number 6. Grumpy fish face. While it's fairly regular to say that fish don't usually go around with especially ungrumpy faces, there's a standard fish face that people are kind of used to. So, when this one was caught in the brackish waters near the sea in southern Thailand's Krabi province, it's safe to say that people were somewhat taken aback. This extremely grumpy-faced fish has been compared to the villainous Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street. The fisherman that caught the monstrous beastie first of all thought that it was nothing more than a bundle of wet leaves, but upon closer inspection, discovered it was actually a fish, and a super creepy one at that. Marine biologists later identified the fish as a species of frogfish, known for their unusual appearance and ability to camouflage themselves among rocks and coral. Frogfish are ambush predators, using their strange, lumpy bodies to blend into their surroundings and surprise their prey. The fish's grumpy face is actually a result of its unique anatomy, with its wide mouth and textured skin designed to help it survive in its environment. Locals in the area were both fascinated and horrified by the catch, with some even suggesting that the fish might be a bad omen or a sign of supernatural activity. The discovery has sparked interest among researchers, who are keen to study the species further and understand its role in the local ecosystem. Despite its unsettling appearance, the frogfish is harmless to humans and plays an important role in maintaining the balance of marine life in the region. It had black, pellet-shaped eyes and a whole wide mouth with gross, gnarly skin and had a mean look in its eyes. Perhaps the people in this Thai village have watched rather too much cheesy 80s horror films or maybe have especially overactive imaginations, but they decided that it was totally terrifying and looked like a horror movie character. So, what do you reckon the fish looks like? Go on and have a whole bunch of opinions in the comments section down below. I know you want to. Number 5. Man claims he caught three-eyed catfish. Much like the three-eyed fish called Blinky from The Simpsons, here is a three-eyed fish from the real world that was caught, allegedly, by a fisherman in Brooklyn, New York, and apparently it was near Whole Foods, but whether that's related or not seems a little bit silly. Anyway, the image does seem to show a fish with 3 eyes, but is it just a tiny bit suspiciously symmetrical? Picture that is nuts. This is a dubious video that a dubious person did, but the fact remains that the place in which he claims to have caught the fish is a filthy pit of the most disgusting detritus that Brooklyn has ever expelled. So, there could be at least a grain of truth to the tall tale. This is a canal that runs through the center of Brooklyn in New York. It was once lined with factories that dumped all of their waste out into it, including raw sewage and coal byproducts, and they did it directly into the canal water. In fact, the place was so intensely hazardous to the health that it was once designated a Superfund site in 2010, meaning that it was to get a bunch of extra cash to clean up all the contamination. In 2012, the Environmental Protection Agency found a ton of different toxic chemicals in the canal's water. There was lead, mercury, PCBs, pesticides, and nitrogen, all at dangerously high levels. The canal was set to be dredged and capped back in 2017. Number 4. Baby shark with human face. Here's a weird shark that was caught in Indonesia. People seem to think that it has the face like a person, but to be honest, that's not like any person I've ever known. But what do you think? This is evidently a shark that had not fully developed, and its eyes had yet to be in their correct position. It's not a person shark or an alien or any other type of oddity, but a poor unfortunate baby shark that simply didn't make it. Number 3. The faceless fish. When scientists on a trawler in Australian waters were out cataloging the deep-sea creatures in the region in 2017, they happened upon an especially unusual fish that has been giving everyone the creeps ever since. This is a faceless fish that was caught at a depth of about 13,000 feet. It is called a Typhlinus nasus. The water down there is intensely cold, about 34 degrees Fahrenheit, and the pressure is enormous. Not a whole lot of things can survive almost half a meter long. This fish with no eyes. The extreme environment where the faceless cusk lives is one of the least explored regions on Earth. making every discovery from these depths a valuable contribution to science. The fish's lack of visible eyes is an adaptation to its pitch-black habitat, where eyesight is unnecessary and other senses, such as detecting vibrations, are more useful for survival. Its gelatinous body structure helps it withstand the crushing pressure of the deep sea, which would be fatal to most other creatures. Scientists believe that the faceless cusk feeds on small invertebrates and organic matter that drifts down from the upper layers of the ocean. The rediscovery of this species has sparked renewed interest in the biodiversity of the deep sea, a region that remains largely mysterious and underexplored. The faceless cusk is just one of many bizarre and fascinating creatures that call the deep ocean home, reminding us of how much we still have to learn about life on our planet. But despite the fact that this seemed like a new and terrifying sort of mutant species, it had already been discovered all the way back in 1874, when the very first global oceanography expedition had set out aboard the HMS Challenger. They had gathered up the very first specimen of this creepy, faceless monster fish in waters just outside of the Austral region all the way back then. And although they call it faceless, it does actually have a mouth, but it's situated on the very bottom of the creature, so when it's viewed from the side, it is completely invisible. Researchers have begun to give this weird fish the common name of the faceless cusk, which, although it sounds like an insult, is just a description of this deep-water dweller. Number 2. Two-headed whale found in Mexico. Occasionally, in nature, there are cases of conjoined twins that actually make it to full term and are born but then sadly have no way to survive once outside of the womb. That's what happened to these conjoined whale twins that were born off the coast of Baja California. The whale calves were discovered in a lagoon in the Mexican peninsula back in 2014 and were still alive when marine biologists were called to the location, but they sadly died shortly after. What a bummer. Linked at the waist, the two whales had both of their full heads and tail fins, but they were fused in the center, likely as not sharing vital organs. Experts believe that the condition, known as paralyzed dicephalus, is caused by a developmental anomaly during the early stages of embryonic growth. Such cases are extremely rare in marine mammals, with only a handful of documented instances in whales and dolphins throughout history. The discovery provided scientists with a unique opportunity to study the phenomenon and better understand the challenges faced by conjoined twins in the wild. Researchers noted that the twins' inability to swim properly or surface for air likely contributed to their short survival. The event also raised questions about whether environmental factors, such as pollution or climate change, could increase the likelihood of such anomalies. Despite the tragedy, the findings have contributed valuable data to the field of marine biology, helping scientists learn more about the complexities of whale reproduction and development. The Mexican government sent in scientists to investigate and document the extremely rare occurrence, and they took samples of their skin, muscles, and bone from the unfortunate animals in order to conduct further investigations. This area is well known as a place where whales come to mate and give birth after traveling down from the chilly waters of Alaska, so it's no surprise that every once in a while, there are complications in the birth of a calf. This discovery of conjoined whales, however, is not something that anyone sees every day. But who would actually want to? The poor babies. Number 1. Maine's biggest lobster. And in the red corner, weighing in at 27 pounds of pure punching power, a lobster used to a much more miniature catch. Maine fisherman Robert Malone was in for quite the big shock when he hauled in a colossal crustacean in his net. Not unfamiliar with the odd lobster, of course, he was taken aback by the sheer scale of this massive beast. The lobster's claws alone were said to be large enough to crush a human hand with ease, showcasing the immense strength of this ancient-looking creature. Experts at the Maine State Aquarium estimated that Rocky could be anywhere between 60 to 100 years old, given the size of his shell and claws. Lobsters grow throughout their lives, and while most are caught long before reaching such a size, Rocky had clearly managed to evade traps for decades. The discovery sparked conversations about the potential for even larger lobsters lurking in the depths of the ocean, hidden from human eyes. Rocky's size and age also highlighted the importance of sustainable fishing practices, as overfishing could prevent such impressive specimens from ever reaching maturity. The aquarium staff noted that Rocky's survival was a testament to the resilience of marine life, even in the face of environmental challenges. Nicknamed Rocky, on the account of the crustacean's enormous, boxing glove-like claws, this lucky lobster was returned to the ocean after the aquarium had taken down its vital statistics. I just wonder if Rocky is still out there, running up flights of stairs and bulking up in training to knock out the next unsuspecting fisherman to catch him in his net. Well, that's all from the depths of the seas for today. Have you ever caught something unusual or just really cool? Let me know all about it in the comments below. Don't forget to check out the other cool videos showing up on the screen, and I'll see you next time.